Okay, let's talk about a word in music that trips so many people up. Dominant. What does it even mean? Is it one specific note, a chord, or is it more of a job title? If you've ever felt like music theory uses the same word for three different things, you're not just imagining it. So in this explainer, we're going to untangle one of music's most powerful and, yeah, kind of confusing ideas, the secret jobs of scale degrees.
So yeah, that word, dominant. Have you ever been in a music class or watching a tutorial and just felt lost? Does it mean the fifth note in a scale or the chord that's built on that note? Or is it describing a feeling, a kind of musical tension? Well, if you've been confused, you're in very good company. As one Reddit user put it perfectly, sometimes in music theory, the same words are just asked to cover way too much ground. So today, let's give these hard-working words some breathing room.
All right, so to do this right, we have to start at the beginning. We need a solid foundation. So first things first, we're tackling the absolute basics. What exactly is a scale degree? The words themselves actually give us a massive clue. Scale comes from the Latin word scala, which means ladder, and degree comes from gradus, which means step. So a scale degree is literally just a step on a musical ladder. It's nothing more complicated than that. It's just the position of a note on that ladder compared to the very first note, our home base, which we called the tonic. Okay, let's make this super concrete. Take a look at the C major scale. It's just a simple ladder of notes, right? All we do is assign a number to each step. C is step 1, D is step 2, E is 3, and we just keep going all the way up to B, which is the 7th degree. That's it. Those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those are the scale degrees. Simple as that. But, musicians, we love to give things fancy names. So, of course, these numbers don't just stay numbers for long. Each one gets its own technical name. And these names are actually little clues that hint at what that note's role is in the bigger story of a song. And here they are. As you can see, the first degree is our home base, the tonic. The fifth degree is the dominant, which is kind of the second in command. Now check this out. The mediant, number 3, is called that because it's in the middle or midway between the tonic and the dominant. And the subdominant? And this is cool. It's not just one below the dominant. It's actually a perfect fifth below the tonic, like a mirror image of the dominant. Every name gives you a hint about that note's relationship to home. Okay, so we've got 7 notes and 7 different technical names. This is usually where things can start to feel a little complicated. But what if I told you that we can organize all 7 of those individual players into just 3 functional teams, and each team has one very specific job to do? This, right here, is the key idea that changes everything. We're about to radically simplify this whole system. So for now, just forget trying to memorize 7 different behaviors. Instead, I want you to just think about 3 core jobs, 3 harmonic functions. Pretty much everything in Western music, from pop to classical, boils down to how these 3 groups play with and against each other. First up, we've got the tonic function. This is the home team. Its job is to provide that feeling of stability, of rest, of resolution. It's that feeling when you know you've arrived home. The star player here is the I chord, the chord built on the first note. But the chords built on the 3rd and 6th notes can also sub in and give you that same home feeling. Next, we have the subdominant function. Think of this as the journey team. The job of these chords is to create a little movement away from home. It's not tense, really. It's more like you're setting off on a trip. It builds a bit of anticipation for what's to come. The main members of this team are the chords built on the 4th and 2nd scale degrees, the IV and the II chords. And finally, we have the dominant function, the tension team. The job of these chords is to create a powerful feeling of suspense, of expectation. It is the musical cliffhanger at the end of a TV episode that makes you have to see what happens next. It's got this incredibly strong magnetic pull that just screams, "Go back home," to the tonic. This job is handled mostly by the V chord, but that special chord on the 7th degree can do it too. So, now we have all the pieces on the board. We've got the notes, the names, and the teams. Let's put it all together and finally solve that puzzle we started with. What is the real difference between a name and a job? And here it is. This is the solution. The dominant is a name. It's a label for a very specific thing, the fifth note of the scale or the chord built on it. But dominant function is a job. It's a role. It describes the task of creating tension. The V chord is the most common chord to do this job, for sure. But as we saw, the chord on the seventh degree can also step in and do that exact same job. So one is a title, the other is a job description. And this brings us right back around to that brilliant point from Reddit user Zarlina Suk. It is completely 100% understandable to be confused when the same word dominant is used for both a specific chord and for a general job. So if you've been confused, it's not you, it's the terminology. Okay, so we've untangled the terms, we've separated the name from the job, but why does this actually matter? Why is knowing this difference like having a secret weapon for any musician, or even just a serious music fan? Because, and this is the best part, this isn't just some dusty, abstract theory. Understanding the job a chord is doing is like getting a backstage pass to how music works. You can start building your own chord progressions. You can finally understand why your favorite songs make you feel the way they do. It gives you the confidence to compose, to improvise, and it's absolutely essential for unlocking really complex music like jazz. But, this idea of musical jobs, of tension and release, it goes even deeper. That feeling isn't just in the notes themselves. It's actually hardwired into how our brains process music. And some really fascinating research into listening skills shows just how fundamental this is. So take a look at this. One study compared conservatory music students and found this really stark difference. Students in Japan, on average, had incredible absolute pitch. That's the ability to hear a random note and name it out of thin air. But they scored lower on relative pitch, which is about hearing the relationships between notes. For students in the West, it was the complete opposite. Amazing relative pitch, but much lower absolute pitch. And that right there gets to the very heart of why all this matters. Understanding scale degrees and their jobs is the language of relative pitch. It's the skill of hearing relationships. And that's what turns a random collection of notes into a story, with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's not just about identifying a G note. It's about hearing that G as the dominant, the sound that desperately wants to go home. So now that you know the difference between a note's name and its job, what music are you going to listen to differently? What patterns are you suddenly going to hear in your favorite songs? What new musical conversations will you finally be able to join in on? Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.